Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 144, Never Leaving a Closed Door, and I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin, joined by...
Alex the Jedi Jedraszczak, Editor-in-Chief at GameCola.jed. Net.
I don't think that's right.
Close enough.
John Rizzi, I make videos on the GameCola YouTube channel, on the recently hiatus playthrough of Danganronpa 2, but we will get back to that as soon as we can.
I'm Matt Breslau. I'm a staff writer for GameCola and the resident GameCola game collector. It's a sickness, but I'm wearing a mask, so everyone's safe.
Yes.
I'm Anna Bryniarski. I'm here as usual.
Yeah, did you go last on purpose? Did you just get tired of going first?
No, I panicked.
When I didn't hear you, I was just like, I guess I screwed up.
Yeah, no, I figured at that point, I was just like, might as well just go last now.
So this is a podcast about video games. Maybe it's been a while since you've heard us talk about video games in the modern era. It's been a bit of a rough time for many people, but we're back on the ball talking about video games, and we would be remiss not to open with what is simultaneously the most important and least discussed aspect of the current video game industry. The Playbox Series 5 came out, and no one is talking about the fact that 2 new video game consoles just got released.
The what?
Well, but that's the thing, is that, like, does it even matter at this point?
To just clarify, I am talking about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. Which are two.
Wait, they made a console about InXS?
We could make jokes about naming conventions all day, so we're just gonna let that be the one. About the
Thanks, I'm really glad that terrible joke was the one.
It took me several days of hearing about the Xbox Series X to figure out that they weren't just talking about the Xbox One X or whatever, that it's different.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. No one learned from the Wii U.
I was gonna say the exact same thing.
Yeah, I thought it was the working title for the console when I first heard it years ago, and then when I found out that it was going to be the actual title, I very, very quickly questioned Microsoft, as I'm sure we all did.
Yeah, so the thing that is weird to me is just that, like, I feel like the general issue, I think, from what I hear people talking about, is that there's the new console. It's very fancy and it's very new. There's 2 of them, and they each have their own subcategories of quality. But there's no games for them, really. Which, yes, I agree that there is a very, there's not actually 0 games for them, but there is a very small library of games that people care about. But I feel like that's the same for every single console, and yet there still is very little hype now that the thing is even leading up to it. I feel like there was very little hype. I feel like there was more hype about the price reveal than the actual launch of these consoles.
I can somewhat agree with that, because again, the price was very important, but considering we're also in a pandemic right now, it's like, oh, the new consoles came out. It's like, I think everyone, I wouldn't say everyone, I think most consumers that want them now, because a lot of my friends got the PlayStation 5 already, and I'm like, all right, I'm still in the boat. Like, I'm gonna wait like a year for a slimmer model and a cheaper price and more games and whatnot, because I still have games from this generation I want to catch up with. So, and those are gonna be dirt cheap now. Yeah, no, it is in that boat that more people are just talking about problems of the new generations, rather than, oh my god, I got my new PlayStation 5, I'm so excited about it, or I'm so excited for this, and so on and so forth. It's more like, I can't even get a PlayStation 5 right now, what the hell? And stuff like that.
Here's a question I have. Which of the people on this podcast intend to get either a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series sometime in the, maybe not immediate future, but like within a year or so?
I actually picked up a PlayStation 5 at launch. I was lucky enough to be able to pre-order.
You got one?
Yeah.
Okay.
How big is
it? It's too big. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Atari 5200, but it's bigger than that. So
that is the size comparison I've been waiting to hear for the past month.
I'm glad I could offer it.
So have you used it at all, Matt? I don't know. I just assumed that no one at GameCola would ever buy the brand new thing.
Again, I have a sickness. It is underwhelming, I'll say that, because again, there wasn't enough hype leading up to it to make everybody care enough. So by the time it came out and people actually sat down to play it, it just feels like an extension of the PlayStation 4. The controller is bigger, it's a different color. The console is bigger, it's a different color, but it has the same games. At least right now it does. Because pretty much almost everything that came out for PS5 at launch also came out for PlayStation 4. And I played through Spider-Man Miles Morales when it came out, which is a phenomenal experience. But it's available on PlayStation 4, so there's still no reason to bite on a PS5.
I can confirm that I do have Miles Morales, but I do have the PS4 version.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot buggier than I've seen the PlayStation 5 version.
I've heard that too. The PlayStation 5 version gave me no issues.
But I'm pretty sure Demon Souls, the remake, that's the only PlayStation 5 exclusive at this point. And maybe Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, because that's like, it's not built up from the ground up, but it's still like a separate game altogether.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard Demon Souls be mentioned as like if you have a PlayStation 5, like that's the game that you have to get because it's like really the only one right now that's seems to be, like you said, like exclusive and like really taking advantage of what the PS5 and this current next generation, if you can call it that, right? I like the ideas of generations. I think we've even talked about on the Discord generally, just as things don't line up as neatly in terms of releases, mean less and less. It kind of worked out for the past couple generations because everything sort of came out at the same time. Yeah. But now that the Switch sort of has come out several years before these two new ones, it feels weird to consider, is this a new generation? Is this the end of the generation that got started with the Switch? I think at the end of the day, it's not really practical or useful to talk about it like that.
I think Nintendo's always done their own thing in terms of generations, because even the Nintendo 64 came out 2 years after the Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1. Like when you look at those timelines.
Right.
So it's like, and so I guess it's not too much of a stretch to put the Nintendo Switch in the what was the previous generation? The 8th generation?
I don't even remember the number.
Yeah, we're in the 9th
to
now,
be honest.
Yeah, so this so PS5 is the 9th. So yeah, if you put the Switch with the 8th generations, because that was most of its competition at that time.
Real quick, just I'm curious about this in reference to this conversation. For those of us that have a Switch, how long did you wait to purchase your Switch?
Launch day, baby.
Okay, Matt's staying on brand, so that's good. It took, I think, it was released in March, and I got it in October with Super Mario Odyssey, which I believe is, 7 months-ish? So 6 or 7 months. We can round to 6, half a year.
I got my Switch as a Christmas gift last year, actually, so pretty late.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I think I got it on release day, I think. I'm trying to remember.
See, unlike Matt, that's very uncharacteristic of you, Jay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember, because, okay, here's the thing, is I remember...
Trying to remember why.
No, I remember going to get it at like 5 a.m. or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember if it was because it was release day or if I was just there for like Black Friday or something.
Did you wake up in a cold sweat one night thinking you needed to get a Switch?
Do you remember what you played once you got the Switch?
Yeah, I played,
System
what was
settings.
it? Bloodstained something, but the 2D version.
Curse of the Moon.
Curse of the Moon, is that what it's actually called? Isn't that the Castlevania one? I don't remember.
Aha! And now we understand why.
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night or something.
Yeah, that's the full one. Curse of the Moon was the 8-bit spin-off because it was like a Kickstarter, like a goal, stretch goal or something like that.
Okay, so it must have been that I was there for Black Friday is what happened.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, okay, never mind. I didn't. I lied.
Anna, what about you?
I got mine in November because they finally had some in stock, and I went, oh, yes, I have money for once.
Mm.
Then you
Yeah,
lost
I
it.
don't.
I lost
I feel like there weren't really shortages are like a big issue with the PS5. Like there's part of that. Part of why maybe there's not as many people talking about it is that like tech shortages in general have been an issue. Both in terms of supply chain issues. I've seen someone like say all I wanted was a graphics card, and now I've learned about the entire logistical system of electronic supply chains instead. Because it's not just, I mean, we very rarely talk about PC gaming specifically, but a lot of the fancy new PC gaming graphics cards with all the RTX on and the ray tracing and all of that fun stuff that people say and means things to them. Those people are having trouble getting their hands on those cards. There's issues with scalpers too. I think there was particular things that like basic anti-bulk buying for scalping measures that were not taken with the initial releases of the Xbox and the PlayStation that are also compounding this particular issue. So I think that's another factor.
Yeah, I was scrolling through Twitter a while ago. You kind of remind me of this. I saw someone's tweet where they bought like maybe 20 PlayStation 5s. They had a picture with it and whatnot, and they had like a list, like total cost this, and then total profit. It was like something astronomically huge. I'm like, Jesus God in heaven. These people.
So that's just to give you an update, unless anybody has anything else to say on the matter, on the state of that. We'll, of course, keep an eye on it as more games come out. We'll talk more maybe about them specifically. But this is sort of a segment to tell you why we're not talking more about the fact that 2 new video game consoles just got released.
So
I have no money.
I do think about the Switch sometimes, though, right? Like,
Me too.
It is a video game console, and we have a video game website with a video game podcast, so I would hope that sometimes you think about the video game console that you have, Jetty.
Yes, the one that I play regularly. But the thing is, right, the lifespan of, like, a Nintendo console is, like, 6 years?
Roughly, yeah.
6 or 7, I think.
Meanwhile, the Wii U only lasted 5, which
right.
We are rapidly closing in on year 5 of the Switch, and it does not feel, to me, like it's necessary within the next year or two to make another new Nintendo console.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo might not do that, considering they rushed to make sure that they could get the Switch out because the Wii U was floundering. I think they're probably going to stick to their guns and keep with it for much longer than is usual.
They may release like an updated model or something, but I still
yeah.
There are rumors about that too.
The Switch Pro rumors, it's higher than ever.
Yeah.
Well, basically, like I think the more in terms of like what Nintendo has done before, the comparisons might be to the DS Lite, which was in fact a better DS than the regular DS.
Can't confirm.
And then the DSi. And then the 3DS too. That's sort of a weird thing. Is like, is that also a DS? Is the delineation the name or the fact that it takes different cartridges?
I
think the new 3DS.
It's like a Game Boy Color type thing. In my opinion, if it uses different kinds of cartridges, then it's like the next generation.
A step up, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then what about new 3DS?
No, that's just a different model of a regular 3DS.
Yeah,
but it uses different cartridges.
No? Oh.
Well, you gotta say.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
Exactly.
And there were also some DSi exclusive games, but is the DSi not
yeah,
a DS?
there were.
Well, were there DSi exclusive cartridges? I knew there was stuff that you could only buy in the DSi shop, but I don't know if I count that.
I think 6 of those games were ported to physical.
There was also, with the Game Boy Color, is that the original Game Boy, when you turned it on, there was a little notch in the corner so that it would hold the cartridge in place, which the Game Boy Color did not have, so that you could not play Game Boy Color games in the original Game Boy.
Right.
Even though they technically could run.
Yeah. I've always considered the black cartridge Game Boy Color games as Game Boy Color, because they always came in a Game Boy Color box, even if you could play them on a Game Boy.
But then what about Pokemon games?
They also came in Game Boy Color boxes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
But they're not black.
They're not
yellow.
black, no, but they did.
It wasn't
but they came in Game Boy
Yellow
Color
was.
boxes.
Pokemon Yellow was, wasn't it?
Yellow was Game Boy original. It came in an original Game Boy box.
Oh, but it could run on Game Boy Color with
Well,
color.
yeah, but then again, so could every Game Boy game.
Yeah, well, also, some games like Metroid 2 Return of Samus, they had like an internally programmed in special color palette. Meanwhile, actually, the original Pokemon had a special programmed in Super Game Boy color palette, I believe.
Yeah, it also had special frames, because the game couldn't display at the same resolution as your television. It had to be squished.
Yeah.
But the Pokemon games got their own special frames to go around that resolution.
Yeah, I guess I remember, when I'm at home and I'm playing Pokemon, it looks really good on the Super Game Boy. Meanwhile, when you put it into a Game Boy Color, it just kind of looks all right.
Yeah, it looks very washed over on a Game Boy Color, I think.
Well, I mean, not just that, but like the color palette limitations on the actual physical Game Boy Color, I guess, were harder than the Super Game Boy. Like, on the Super Game Boy, you could actually get... I'm trying to remember what the differences were, but it was like the individual Pokemon could have their own colors.
Yeah, the way that the Super Game Boy drew colors was it actually had the capability to have up to 16 colors, which was unusual for even a Game Boy Color or even a Game Boy cart playing on Game Boy Color at the time, because it would just assign a single color to each shade of gray. But the Super Game Boy made it possible to use 16 by assigning different sections of the screen 4 of its own colors. And that's how each of the Pokemon were able to have their own color palettes.
Interesting. Yeah, it wasn't quite as accurate on the actual Game Boy Color. So the point is, are they going to be coming out with the new Switch? I guess that's what you guys were saying. Are they going to come out with the new Switch XL Lite?
The only question I have about what it is basically what would it be? If a Switch Lite is the Switch without TV functions and handheld only, is a Switch Pro a Switch with only console functions and no handheld? Because you can just argue that a regular Switch is that if you duct tape it down.
Well, oh man, yeah, that would be weird if they made a Switch that didn't have a screen.
Oh yeah, I guess that could be it, so that it doesn't even need a dock, it just sits there.
Yeah.
Like a console?
Yeah, basically just console only, no handheld.
I mean, they did the opposite though. Like the light you can't put in a TV.
Right.
So like I feel like that felt just as silly when it didn't exist. Like, why is it a Switch if you can't even put it in the TV? Then how is it a Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's no
Switch.
switch.
The word Pro kind of makes people assume that it will have more features, but if it's just a console-only version, it actually has fewer features. So
I guess, yeah, like would they just make a new Switch that's the exact same Switch but with higher specs? Because like there are some games that I've played that have had slowdowns.
Yeah, I could see that.
Things showing.
I could see that happening.
And like the benefit of an upgrade too would be that the games can perform better on handheld, because that's usually where you have the most performance issues.
Yeah.
And also,
Switch XL.
I guess as new games are created and they're supposed to be cross-platform, if it's trying to compete with some game that's like targeted at the PS5, they're going to need to bump it up just to handle like lowered resolution version. I guess my main point was I hope that they're not planning on making a completely different Nintendo console anytime soon, because I don't know, I'm pretty satisfied with the Switch.
If they were, we would have heard rumors about that like we've heard with the Switch when it was called the NX before.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we've only been hearing the Switch Pro rumors, so I think there's some validity to that.
There's always a little sprinkle of truth in there.
Just be higher specs. What if it's a Switch with the disc drive and you can put in GameCube games?
What if it's a Switch with an extra sliver like the PS4 Pro?
An extra layer to the burger.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
All I know is that by talking about it on the podcast, we have significantly increased the chance that it will be announced sometime between the recording of this podcast and when it goes live.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Next 5 minutes.
Man, what if they did something like the old Sega extensions where like
the CD and the 32X.
Yeah, that they just plug into the system. So like the Switch docks into the Switch Pro or whatever, the Switch Pro dock, and that your original Switch is now boosted by being in this new dock, that then you plug the dock into the TV and so on, and it gives you the power boost and the CD drive and so on.
So you keep your same Switch device, but what you're replacing is just the dock is fancier.
Nintendo Switch CD.
I don't know enough about the electronics of the Switch dock to know how feasible of an idea that is.
Yeah, because there was a thing on the there's like a port on the bottom of the SNES that like in theory could have been plugged into things, and also that the NES cartridges themselves had the Super FX chip and stuff and had like the extra ports that they could plug into to access all that. But I also think that the Nintendo Switch dock is just for power and HDMI.
I think that's exactly what it's for.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all it's for, yeah.
Can you imagine if they put another processor in that thing? Oh my god.
See, I just don't know if that's how electronics works, though. Like, I'm going to put in another motherboard into the Switch dock, which will make it better, question mark?
Well,
here's another circuit board. Here's some resistors and capacitors. I mean, you do graphics better now, right? If I do that.
But again,
that's just how I feel talking about it.
They've been doing that kind of stuff, since the original NES. That like people would put their own chips on the game board itself, and that like plugging it in, like it would do its own like sub processing and stuff to get you extra, sound channels or whatever. I don't know. In theory.
Yeah, I've seen people like modify their Sega Saturns and whatnot. They like take out the the disk drive, and they put like not an emulator, but like some kind of like other hard drive in there where it's just basically they have all the games on there, but it's still but it's like when you plug it in, it uses the Sega Saturn hardware to still generate the games.
Yeah.
I just want a Switch that can play Laserdisc. Is that too much to ask?
Jesus Christ. Those things are huge.
Well, it's good. It's
the size of a pizza.
Switch Pro, right? So you can see where I'm going with this.
Those are the size of a pizza. Get out of here.
You can't fit a pizza in your pocket?
Can we just get a Switch that plays capacitance electronic discs? Does anyone even remember those?
Yes.
We have some questions from our wonderful Discord fans that I want to make sure that we get to. Much as I would love to entertain the idea of the Switch featuring Laserdisc.
The Switch LD.
Oh,
Switch
print
pizza.
that, Nintendo.
The first topic was brought up by actually Blue Rider / Brainiac, if you've seen them in the Discord, wanted us to talk about the Monster Hunter movie, which I would have expected Axe, the artist formerly known as Axe Attorney, to ask us this question, to be honest. But so there's the Monster Hunter movie, a live-action movie based on Capcom's video game series Monster Hunter, where you do in fact hunt monsters. It also, according to Blue Rider, features the least ambitious crossover in history, which is Monster Hunter Iceborne, the DLC for Monster Hunter World. Actually, it might be Monster Hunter World Iceborne. It's kind of hard to see in this picture. Crossing over with Monster Hunter, aka the name of the movie.
Which just basically means DLC skins from the movie.
Right. That's really just what it is. So the specific question is, what kind of hope is there for the Monster Hunter movie? So I decided to look into this specifically. I don't know, John, did you also do a little bit of your own research, or just what we chatted about earlier?
Of course I did.
Okay. So my understanding, and John, you can correct me on anything that I get wrong here, is that this is being done by a director who is well known as you can be for making video game movies adaptations. So I think that the most popular one mortal, or the one that got the most traction and maybe solidified this identity for this director, was the Mortal Kombat movie, right?
Yes.
And then several Resident Evil movies are another ones that I see get brought up a lot. Neutral language describing those movies for now. John apparently has opinions, which I will be happy to hear in just a moment. Another common feature of this director's movies is that he casts his wife in the lead role most, if not every single time.
Most of the time. If he can.
Most of the time.
If he can.
And the main thing about the movie that people are concerned about is that instead of this sort of naturalistic, building up swords and crossbows and hammers out of monster parts that you get from fighting the monsters, they just send the military into the Monster Hunter world. The United States military.
They actually get accidentally brought there. They're not sent there.
Yeah, they get isekai'd into Monster Hunter world. Monster Hunter world. And that seems to be one of the main contentions of people saying, like, whatever I wanted out of a Monster Hunter movie, it was not the United States military.
That is incredibly fair.
John, do you have anything you want to add before I go into my conspiracy theory?
Oh, God. I'll try to delay that as much as I can. But, from what I understand, I know when the first trailer came out, and I was like, my main worry was, like, I knew they were going to do, like, a fish out of water story. It's like U.S. military going into this vast unknown world. It's like, oh, great, you're giving us Avatar with Monster Hunter characters.
I think the director specifically said that he was basing it off of Avatar, like using not just that, but that was one of the movies he used as inspiration for the premise.
I did look into it, and he said he wanted to. Hollywood does this all the time. It's like whenever they're adapting like any sort of series, whether it's a game, book, or movie or whatnot, they always need to add like a plot element in there. If the world that they're trying to introduce is far too out there, because even though Monster Hunter is Capcom's Monster Hunter World at the very least is Capcom's most profitable game in years, and there's a big audience for it. When it comes to
cries in Mega Man.
I mean, it's financially true, but when you're making a movie, instantly when you make a movie, you expand that audience but times 100. So no matter what, there's gonna be people going into this movie that have never even heard of the Monster Hunter series as a game before. So you have to engage that audience as well as game fans. So when they do that, they introduce outside characters going into this world. That's just a cheap, I wouldn't call it cheap, but it is a plot device that is used commonly throughout this whole thing. They got lucky because because Harry Potter is technically about that sort of thing. So it's like it's weird, but the director has stated it's like he wanted to replicate his introduction to the series because he is a video game fan. Like the only reason why he directed Mortal Kombat the movie was because he played the first two games and he loved them. And luckily, the Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat in the arcades, had 10 lines of text for the story. So like, okay, I can expand on that. And luckily he did, and the movie was a hit. And honestly, it's still pretty fun. Resident Evil was a totally different story. But, oh my god. And those movies suck, in my opinion.
But the director is sort of known for, like, making the movie that he wants to make.
Yes, yeah, he has
and,
a lot.
like, definitely doesn't care about the professional criticism.
Nah.
Debatably cares about audience reception. Maybe he just kind of wants to make a movie, and the people will pay him to make whatever movie he wants.
I mean, in Hollywood, audience reception, that doesn't go by, like, what people are saying on Twitter. It just goes by money. So, when Mortal Kombat makes 4 times its budget at the box office, they're like, oh shit, people love this movie. when the Resident Evil movies make more money each and every installment, like, people love it, keep it going, keep it going. And then it wasn't until 6 where they started to, like, dwindle in profits, like, okay, let's stop here. For the love of God. Yeah, critical reception, like, honestly doesn't mean anything in Hollywood. Like, it could mean it could mean some stuff for a sequel or whatnot, for if the director actively reads criticism and actually uses it like an analyst or a creator would. But most of the time, it doesn't mean too much. Like, especially if a huge amount of millions of dollars are on the line.
I would also say that maybe critical reception would be important for, like, Academy Awards type stuff.
Oh,
like,
it should be.
If your goal is to be, like, there's definitely movies that are made for made for reviewers.
Yes,
there is a market for that.
There is a market for that, but there's also been times where Hollywood has attempted to make movies specifically for the Academy Awards, and it has bit them in the butt a lot, financially and critically. So yeah, with the
cries and cats.
Oof.
Okay.
I watched that drunk recently. That was fun.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
I want to circle back to something you said that, like, and I'm going to start my conspiracy theory just in case you want to, have a touchdown.
Oh yeah, I want this to be a discussion rather than you just rambling.
Right, but, like, so you said one of the things you said, and I also read this too. The director said that he wanted to have characters outside of the world of Monster Hunter so that he could replicate the experience of what it was like to play Monster Hunter for the first time as an outsider.
Yes.
I think that is a great mindset to have. I like what he said. He said another quote I think he had was, oh, I've forgotten it now. I had it in my head and it's gone.
He's a very, honest to God, he is a very, very smart filmmaker, like, in terms of finances. Because with the first Resident Evil movie, he wrote the script, but he didn't put the title Resident Evil on it. He just called it The Undead, because they didn't know the studios wanted to make a Resident Evil movie. So if he pitched it, he pitched it as something else, and he said if they liked it, he'll make it a Resident Evil movie because they have the rights to it. And if they don't like it, he'll take it to another studio and he'll just make it very loose to Resident Evil. And that's why the Resident Evil movies are very loosely have anything to do with the games. But
right, so, like, I think in terms of saying, like, oh yes, let's take, real world characters and put them in Monster Hunter, I think that idea by itself is not bad. But I have a hard time believing that this British man sat down and thought, what would be the best representation of my perspective when I first started playing Monster Hunter?
Put myself in the military.
The United States military.
That is because of tax reasons.
Relatable touchstone.
That is because of taxes.
A relatable touchstone for the movie-going public is the United States military. My conspiracy theory, it's not a very strong conspiracy, I think it's a very soft one, is that the reason that it's the United States military is because you get extra funding and you get cool toys if you make a movie that features the military.
That is absolutely true. That's not even a theory, that is fact.
Yeah, that's fact. The theory is I cannot find any sort of official thing saying to what extent this not just him but, like, Sony Pictures who's producing the movie, making the movie, broadly speaking, I couldn't find anything on how closely they are collaborating. There are military vehicles in it, and from what I understand, if you have real authentic military vehicles in your movie, it's almost certainly that there is at least some collaboration with the Department of Defense of the United States going on there. I have also seen that sometimes it does not necessarily mean that you are painting the military in a positive light. The military doesn't also always pull out because if they pull funding, it's not because it's something in a positive light. For example, an example that I saw was that in Independence Day, the military could not support that because they used Area 51 in the movie, and the military could not make any sort of official statement on whatever is happening at Area 51. So that's sort of a broad summary of, what was it, the Military Entertainment Industrial Complex or something like that? Or maybe just Military Entertainment Complex. So that's why I think the military is there.
Yes.
Just because they got, I think, like, I'm not spoiling anything that you couldn't discern from looking at the trailer. I suspect that they're going to pull, it is in one of the Jurassic Park movies. I forget which one. What's the Jurassic Park movie where a T-Rex, like, after the main movie, a T-Rex makes it onto, like, the mainland?
That's the second
2?
one.
2. Okay. I think they're going to pull a Jurassic Park 2 where, for the plot of the movie is they get magically transported to Monster Hunter World,
Mhm.
and they have to get back. And I'm pretty sure there's some scenes in the trailer where, like, this very much looks like they got back, but they brought a monster with them. And they have to use everything they learned to defeat the monster, because the monster comes up and takes a bite out of an airplane, which definitely did not come with them.
It's funny. It's funny you say this because when I was looking into the movie, I saw one of the early quotes about one of the early versions of the script, and he said that the climax takes place in LAX. I'm like, okay.
The climax almost certainly takes place, or the secondary climax. Is that a thing?
Yes.
Right? Like, you have the real climax, and then you think you're denouementing, but then there's actually another surprise climax.
Yeah.
I think it's that.
That happens in movies that are way too long.
So, I think that's my theory, is why I think there's close, meaningful collaboration in this, and I'm using meaningful to mean it significantly affected the budget of this movie. Another budget issue, apparently there's only 6, I read this somewhere, and I don't know how true it is or what specifically it means. Apparently there's only 6 monsters being featured when Monster Hunter has many monsters. It is in fact one of the core conceits of the game.
That is a CGI budgeting thing.
True, but how would you react if I said, hey, we're making a Pokemon live-action-ish type movie heavily featuring CGI. Now, we're only going to use 6 Pokemon in the whole movie.
True, but but to be fair, Monster Hunter has huge monsters. Like, I think that's right. I think they specifically just want to use the big guys instead of the smaller ones. The smaller ones will probably be in it in, like, the background or something, but they won't be like the.
That's what I want to know.
They won't be featured. If that makes any sense.
Right. That's just what I'm curious about in terms of, like, obviously, having 6 major monsters be featured over the course of the movie is one thing. I just don't know what the difference is, right? That's something that felt like a red flag to me in terms of how much of these decisions are being made from a creative standpoint and how much of these are being made from a budgetary standpoint.
When you look at the Pokemon movie that came out, how many Pokemon would you say were featured and how many were, like,
I have not actually watched the whole thing yet, so I cannot say. But even from the trailers, I know more than 6.
Maybe.
I felt pretty confident in that comparison. Has anybody watched the Detective Pikachu movie?
I saw it. It definitely has more than 6.
Yeah, I watched it.
If I had to guess how many Pokemon there are, I would put it maybe around 60 unique ones that I saw. Maybe even more than that I may have missed.
How many had to do with the plot?
Probably only like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good ratio of, like, stuff are just putting in the movie and then some ones that you're featuring in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like which ones have to do with the plot and which ones are there for kicks and giggles.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at this and I don't see, like, that's the thing. I feel like I am concerned that in an effort to make this accessible to as many people as possible, which I usually am a staunch supporter of. I like things being available to as many people as possible. I don't like, gatekeeping or elitism when it comes to things about video games. But just in the way that this is currently being done, it feels like to me that we're going to get the worst of both worlds. Something that isn't relatable enough to a general audience for them to be interested in it, but isn't close enough to the source material for people who are already fans of the franchise and the media property to have the response that would be required for this to franchise like they are currently planning on, which I have definitely also heard that, like, they're already trying to franchise this.
Of course they are.
And
of course they are, because it's already a franchise. It's like, this has franchise potential.
Movie franchise.
Because this has franchise potential because it has a huge game franchise potential. That's just how Hollywood works, to be honest. And in all honesty, is this movie going to be good? Maybe not, but at least it's honestly all I want is just to be fun. Because I'm not even a Monster Hunter fan, but I just want a fun movie out of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 2 trailers for it. The American trailer is really bad. When I first saw it, I'm just like,
I think I've only seen the American one.
Yeah, did they just shoot all this in a desert and then add one location later on? Because like that's how they got through filming in a pandemic. But
yeah, it seems like they go from one desert to another desert. It's like, whoa, where are we? It's like it's still just sand.
The international trailer, while it still has the same setup, it is edited in a way more fun manner than the American trailer. It actually makes.
I'll give that a watch then, because I think I just saw the American.
It looks like the same movie, but it's just a more fun trailer overall.
So, does anybody else have any opinions they'd like to share?
I've never played a Monster Hunter, and I haven't seen the trailer for the movie. And up until this podcast, I didn't know that a movie was coming out.
Good job, marketing.
I knew that the movie was coming out, but yeah, I've never. Or no, I played like 5 minutes of the demo or something like that. And that's my experience with Monster Hunter.
My boyfriend loves those games. I know nothing about them. I know about the cats.
The only thing that I really knew about the movie was military propaganda. That's about it.
So if that's your question, that's how we feel about the Monster Hunter movie. I'll be interested. I mean,
man, I really hope the cats are in there.
I think there is a cat. I think I
Good.
saw a
Thank
screenshot
God.
that had a cat. I don't know how much they're featured though. It
They
seems
should be
like
the main
honestly
characters,
seems
TBH.
like not a lot. TBH.
I just want the movie to be fun, and if they want anything else from the games, they should have the music. That's it.
Moving on to some other. I'm sort of combining 2 questions into one here. But basically, from from Chris Axe and Mac McMacBall.
Ball Foursquare.
Basically, hold on, let me make sure I'm getting this right.
Did I distract you with McBall Foursquare?
Chris/Axe asks, do you have a game where you're sitting at the end to avoid beating it? So a game that you've almost beaten or completed. And then Mac asks about have we 100%ed games before? On the other hand, are there games that we've decided very firmly that we're never going to even attempt to 100%?
So, yes, I have actually. I think the first game I ever 100%ed was, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on PC.
I love that game.
I know. I don't know. I know. I just love playing it. I was like, I want to get every card. I want to get every magic bean. I want to get everything. I don't know. It was just fun. I want to beat everyone in Quidditch because I'm the best. Yeah, no, that was fun. But yes, so nowadays I only 100% the games I really love playing because now I just 100%ed Miles Morales, but that's just because it's very easy to get the platinum in the new Spider-Man games. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know if you can really count it as 100%ing back in like the NES or Super NES era, where it's just like, hey,
beat the game.
You beat the game, you know. But yeah, like I mean, the original Pokemon, or let's say something like Xenogears, where there was a bunch of stupid stuff like the card game or whatever that goes on in the background. I used to do that, but there's so many more games out now, and like so much less time now that I work full time and so on. So yeah, I have a lot of games that I'm never gonna go back to Pokemon Sword and Shield and try to get all 700 Pokemon or whatever. It's not gonna happen. I'm sorry, but there are still a few games like I've been playing Hades, and I got the ending, and then I got the other ending, and I'm still playing, trying to get everyone's bonds and so on. Try to hit all of the fated whatever prophecies.
Am I hearing this correctly? Jetty has played a Game of the Year nominee this year?
Oh,
he played?
Not for the GameCola awards.
He's played a recent video
but
game?
yes, of 2020. Yeah, surprisingly, I have played a game. Well, but that's the thing. It didn't really come out this year. I guess it went gold this year. It was like had an official final real release, but it had been out on early access for a couple years. Depends on how you define it. But yes, I've played a game from recent times. Although I do also have several games that I got close to the end, and Dragon Quest XI, it's been sitting at like, I don't know, I guess I'm at like 80% maybe. I don't know if I'm gonna go back, like maybe one day. I don't know why I stopped, but after leaving it for a while, just no real desire to go back and complete it. And I have a couple of games like that. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but Little Dragon's Cafe, I'm never 100% in that, I'm sorry.
What do you mean?
I beat it, but I'm not going to go back and do all the other extra quests or whatever.
That reminds me, I absolutely refuse to get all the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild, but I did get all the shrines.
I 100% every game I touch, guys. And
Matt,
it
are you
sucks,
okay?
but I love it.
Okay, Nathaniel.
But I have a system of doing it, because I feel like if I played every game only once and just 100%ed it the first time, I would never really get to experience the game the way that it was intended to be experienced. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, because if you're doing everything all in one sitting, and you're experiencing everything, then how could you not have possibly experienced the whole game? And my answer is this. The first time I play through a game, I just play through until I beat it, because that's the casual experience, and I want to experience how anybody would just pick up and play the game. And then I'll wait a little bit, maybe a couple of months, maybe a year, maybe more, and then I'll 100% it. But I'll start back from the beginning to have a full second playthrough as the completionist that I am. So it may take a little bit of time before I eventually get to 100% a game, but I 100% every game I touch, even ones with ludicrous 100% requirements. I am totally getting 900 Korok seeds. I haven't done it yet, but it's happening. I 100%ed Gen 1 and Gen 2 of Pokemon, which took me a combined total of 9 full days to do for all 6 games. So, it'll happen.
So, a question I have for you, Matt, then, is like, is there... You say you 100% every game you touch. First question, like, how much of an exaggeration, if an exaggeration, is that? Like, does that extend to, like, games that you don't like, for example?
Okay, so if there's a game that I straight up don't like whatsoever, I'll pretty much know right away. And then not only will I not 100% it, I just won't even beat it. But I'm pretty freeform when it comes to games. I haven't really experienced that many that I have straight up hated. So even if I dislike a game only a little bit, I'll still play through it to 100% completion at some point. I guess I would say if I would give a game at least a 3 out of 10, then I will 100% it.
Okay. And you don't have like a bail condition of like, oh, if it's a game like this, then I'm just not even going to touch it?
Not really. Just as long as I'm enjoying myself at least a little bit, and it's a nice fun challenge, I will 100% it.
I guess more of what I mean is like you see, like before you even start playing the game, you see how ridiculous it would be to complete, and you're like, well, my code says that if I start this, I have to complete it, so I'm just not going to touch it, and then I don't have any obligations.
Nope, I'm the total opposite. I'm written so that my code says I have to beat this game 100%, so I do it. I just might put it off for a very long time until I feel guilty enough to finally pick it up 7 years later. Hence, why it took me my entire life to finally get around to doing 100% Pokedex for Gens 1 and 2, even though I've been playing them since I was a child. So,
would you consider those your most, like, your large... I guess, like, I would definitely think that, like, all of the Pokemon games combined, which I believe is your long-term goal
it is.
now.
It's definitely going to be, and that's going to take me forever. But I'm looking forward to it.
Right. So I would definitely say that is the biggest 100% completion project that I have even ever heard of. But on an individual game basis, what do you feel like has been the biggest sort of challenge? Like just a single game, right? So I would not necessarily count Pokemon in the same way. You know what I mean? Like I would still count it if you wanted to say one of the Pokemon games, but I would think of it as a different challenge than trying to get all of them.
If we're just talking about like a single game, then I guess I would disqualify Pokemon, since Gen 1 is 3 separate games, and Gen 2 requires that you play Gen 1, so it's 6 games total. That's actually kind of a tough one. I've played so many. Oh god, that really is a hard question.
Is there ever one that's made you question your philosophy of completing the games? Maybe that's another way to phrase it.
I mean,
when did you almost
there
give
have been
up?
a lot that have done that. When did I almost give up? Well, Pokemon was definitely one of those, but there have been many. Let's see. Let me look at the game wall.
Your game wall is lit, my guy.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
Holy hell.
Let's see. Oh my goodness. Sonic Adventure 1 on the Dreamcast. Getting all of the emblems in that game, it's like, alright, cool. I need 130 emblems. And then you get 125 of them, no problem. And you're like, this was a nice, fun challenge. And then you realize that the last 5 are going to take you probably into your 60s. And then you want to die. Because you have to do the Chow races, which means you have to breed the Chow. And that takes forever. Even if you cheat, it still takes forever. Not that I would, but if just thinking about cheating is still going to make me have to play the game for months, and I'm deciding I'm not cheating, so it's going to be extended even longer, I already hate this. But I'm gonna do it because I dipped my toe in for the first 125, which isn't a dip, it's most of the game, so I gotta do it.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks. I don't know if it remotely compares, but Final Fantasy VII and the Chocobo racing, trying to get the golden Chocobo and so on. And like, it's funny because I remember trying to cheat with that. But the thing is that in order on the original PlayStation to reset the console, you are sitting there for like, 15-30 seconds as it goes ding ding ding, like as it does it like you're sitting there through all of the loading stuff, and then you get into the game, and then it loads your memory card in order for you to then try to breed another Chocobo. I don't know if it compares, or if you've tried.
It is similar, but I think that Sonic Adventure just takes...
Okay.
But there have definitely been a lot of experiences like that. One of the biggest detractors, I think, that gets people not to want to play games 100% is not just the amount of content required for completion, but just the length of time it'll take. Because you can have a relatively small amount of things needed to be done, but if they will all take a long time to do, it can feel like a much larger task than it really is.
Especially if they're not fun.
Yeah, and especially if they're not
like,
outlined, because a lot of games won't tell you when you've 100% of them. Like old-style Zeldas don't tell you when you've fully completed them. You just gotta know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You gotta look it up.
Yeah, I got
sort of to something you said earlier about, like, certain games are, like, there's the experience of playing it casually and there's the experience of completing it, and how some games... I don't know if you said this, but the thought I had definitely was there are some games that I feel like aren't designed to be completed. Like, you can complete them, but that's not why they made the things the way that they did. Something maybe slightly controversial that I would bring to that would be Super Mario Sunshine. I don't think they made the blue coins with the intention of people going to have fun collecting all the blue coins, because it is not fun to collect all the blue coins. It's just like a little bonus thing that you can do. It gives like a little it's a small reward for doing things that are not on the critical path, but like do take some skill or some awareness to find. But like the process of going in and finding all of them is not fun. I would also kind of say the same of the hint art in Mario Odyssey. Like, I did not have fun with the hint art in Mario Odyssey. It just kind of felt like busy work.
In Sunshine, you also don't get anything for getting all the sprites or shine sprites.
Well,
I think you do. You get a shirt,
but it's
no.
stupid.
You get the shirts for just beating the game. I literally just beat the game and I got the shirts.
Yeah, what you actually get for 100% completion in Mario Sunshine is after the credits, you get a static image with the whole cast of the game that says like "Have a relaxing vacation." That's it.
I thought you got either sunglasses or a shirt.
It's like a video game. This was my vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm relaxed, all right. My fingers are bleeding. I'm relaxed.
I'm also on the subject of like games that trying to 100% them, you don't play them the same way. I'm thinking about Chrono Trigger, where like if you want to get through the trial, you have to like go and do everything at the very beginning of the game. So like, a quarter of the way through the game, what you did at the very beginning was important. But you wouldn't know that if you hadn't played before.
Right. Which they're banking on.
Yeah.
Right.
To get you to go back and play again.
Right.
And again, and again, and again.
That's how you feel like you get your money's worth out of a game.
But I feel like that's more like games that are designed to be replayed versus games that are designed to be completed. Because I don't feel like Chrono Trigger is designed to be completed in a sense that getting everybody to max level and getting all the items and doing all the paths isn't necessarily a fun way to play the game for a wide audience.
There's no checklist for it.
But like it is designed so that when you start over at the beginning, it's still fun to play through it again. They have the New Game Plus, which I feel like is a similar but different feeling to like games that are fun to complete. Because some games where you complete them, you don't start over at the beginning to complete them.
Yeah. I mean, a New Game Plus is a little different in the way that it's handled in Chrono Trigger. But like, I guess also, again, how do you tell for like a Super Nintendo game if you've 100%ed it?
Maybe if there's no in-game counter.
Some games do still tell you.
Well, I don't think they really did in the Super Nintendo era is my thing. Like, games now, obviously, they give you lists and they give you achievements and stuff, and you can kind of like, if not within the game, somewhere you can look up, did I get all of the achievements? Well,
like Donkey Kong Country, that had a pretty... I mean, it had its funny little thing with those 101, 102, 103%.
Right, but the thing is, not every game did that. That was a drop in the bucket. Donkey Kong Country was a ray of sunshine in the hell world that is 100% in games.
Okay. I guess maybe it's because of my admittedly limited knowledge of the SNES era in terms of living through it. Maybe Donkey Kong Country is overrepresenting the library of games in my head.
I will say that there's one other thing I'd like to touch upon when it comes to 100% in games, is that every gamer has, some of them have similar ones, but I feel like everybody has at least a little bit different definition of what 100% really, truly, definitively means. Like, do you get absolutely everything on every difficulty, with every character, using every skin? Do you get all of the achievements that aren't necessarily built into the game, but built onto the platform? Do those count? Yes or no? Everyone has a different definition.
Yeah.
And I think it can also be kind of, like, I think you're right in the terms of it is, like, a particular definition, but I think also, like, some, baked in there, some people will say, like, depending on how the game is presenting it, like, I feel like you could make an argument that the Korok seeds aren't necessarily part of 100% because it's just an upgrade system rather than like a challenge to complete. I think I would still categorize it, but then it's like, well, do I have to get, have every weapon in my possession at one point? Do I have to collect every single potential rupee source? And I think many people would say no.
It starts to become this confusing web of precisely what it means. One of my favorite examples was when Portal 2 came out, I wanted to 100% it, and the in-game 100% list is basically null. As long as you beat the game, there really isn't anything else to do. But there's a list of achievements on Steam, one of which is called Narbacular Drop, which is to shoot a portal under your partner in co-op while they are gesturing, which is arbitrary. So if that counts toward completion,
I would do that.
Ostensibly speaking, any game developer can make any arbitrary requirement for 100%.
To be fair, I would do that if it was achievement or not. Because that's just
I mean, of course I did it. But what I'm saying is, that's such a strange thing to have to require. It's not a collectible. It's not like a boss battle. It's not an upgrade. It's just a thing you can do. But it doesn't do anything.
Right, because it's like, at a certain point, achievements, some people would think of achievements as a way to codify certain milestones and challenges that would normally be a part of considered considering 100%ing a game, but in a way that allows like the hardware and software and setup of an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 to sort of keep track of it in a larger sense of your library with trophies and whatever the achievement points, the gamer score, gamer bits, and pour them on your cereal.
Gameros?
Gamer. But right, but then you get to certain things where it's like, then sometimes I remember talking with with Mega Man, like in Mega Man 9 and 10, they're achievements that are like beat the game without taking damage. And like,
or without missing a single shot.
Yeah, stuff like that where it's like,
Bruh.
you are implying that I have not sufficiently beaten this game if I have not done this.
Right.
I feel like in Mega Man 11 in particular, they do a better job of making them more reasonable, especially with the way they handle the difficulty levels. I think that's another issue of like, I would not consider being able to beat a Mega Man game without getting hit on the hardest difficulty to be part of 100% completing it. But you could conceivably make that achievement, and then at that point, is it? Right? Especially if it's baked into the game itself and it's not just like an external thing. Like, yeah, I think there's a lot of confusing wiggle room as things get expanded.
And like that unlocks a whole other can of worms, because Crash 4 just came out recently, and one of the things actually literally required for 100% is to beat stages without dying a single time. But there is an extra mode that you enter in order to do that. Like, you actually are awarded with a medal that counts towards your completion if you're able to beat it without dying. And you also have to do some other requirements at the same time. You have to you have to get 80% of the fruit and break all of the boxes while not dying a single time.
Ooh.
But because the game actually awards you with in-game percentage, it feels more earned than if you just arbitrarily played through and decided not to die.
Yeah, plus
I have decided not to die.
Plus, it should also
a decision we have all made.
It should also be considered that some games that do that, they're designed that way. It's like, oh yeah, you can easily train yourself in these levels to not get hit once or whatnot. It's hard, yes, but it's possible. Other games, it's like, this is impossible. It's absolutely, and then they'll just throw the achievement in there for kicks and giggles. I guess that's my phrase of tonight.
Right. I mean, Mega Man is well designed enough, but it's not designed for a perfectionist, even. It's designed to be learnable, but considering how large Mega Man's health bar is, I don't think that the game was designed to be played through without taking any damage.
Oh, absolutely.
Crash probably was, because it's an old school game made today. It's like, oh, people like this stuff, and let's actually implement it into the game's coding for them to 100% it while not getting hit. I just know if you're not a true 100%er unless you 100% Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue on the PS1. You have to get every single Pizza Planet token. I challenge you, Matt.
Tune in on next episode when I do that.
Do it.
I think it's about time for us to shift. I guess I didn't really answer. I 100% some games. I 100% games if I like them.
Yeah.
I 100%ed Mario Odyssey.
That's it.
And then my answer to the game that you didn't finish but got real close, Super Paper Mario. There was the final boss, and then there was the secret second final boss, and it was really hard, and I just didn't. I just stopped playing the video game, and then I lost it and could not return it to GameFly. I think we ended up finding it like years later, long after we had stopped using GameFly. But I remember no. I beat the boss. It was really hard, and then it was like bonus boss. It's even harder, and I didn't want to do it. I had fun with the game up until that point, but I stopped having fun, so I stopped playing the game. I don't usually do stuff like that, but that sticks out in my mind.
I haven't finished playing Pokemon Y because I can't beat the champion. I almost did, and then she used a potion, and then I got upset.
I would have 100%ed Mario Odyssey, but I borrowed it from a friend. So I gave it back to him after I got, like, the Champions Road or whatever that final course was. I was like, okay, I'm happy with this.
Why don't we talk about video games that we have played in recent times? Now, I wonder if there's anybody who really wanted to talk about the video games that they played in recent times on this podcast.
Guess what? I played video games.
No, illegal.
Whoa.
Leave this podcast,
I would
Anna.
love to
Not
talk
allowed.
about these video games that I've been playing. So guess what? Our power
Okay.
went out like 2 weeks ago. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what spurned this entire thing, because my Switch was fully charged while my power was out for 18 hours. And
Wow.
so I played on my Switch, I played Octopath Traveler, which I absolutely love that game. I completely forgot how to play it in the 1 year. It's been year and a half. It's been almost since I've played it last.
Was the last time you had played it the time I was at your house?
Yes. That was the last time I played it. I have moved technically twice since then. And after that, I played Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is a game I've been playing a lot lately. I'm very bad at it, but I love it so much. The music is so good. What other games? I've played Among Us with some friends, which is always a good time. We play hide and seek, where the imposter lets everyone know who they are. Everyone has regular visibility except the
Yes.
imposter. The kill range and the kill counter are low, so that if they find you, they can stab you, but you have plenty of time to get away from them if they don't see you. So my one friend somehow just kept killing us in one room, and it was great, because we all had tasks in there. I've played Phasmaphobia, which was a lot of fun. I got the spirit box the second time we played, and I'm just running around going, hey Steven, do you want to talk to us? Hey Steven. And then every once in a while he would start a hunt, and me and my friend would go to a different room, hide out for a while, and then we'd go back to the room he was in and just be like, all right, Steven, that wasn't very cool. So I think I don't think the spirit box worked. I think he just wanted to kill me for continuing to speak. Let me look at...
Phasmaphobia is the ghost hunting multiplayer game,
Yes.
for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, I've also been playing that recently.
It's very fun.
It's a very good game, yeah.
It's
It's incredibly difficult to figure out how to play,
Yes.
but once you get it down, it's
Yes.
fun.
I've also been playing Animal Crossing, as always. I've been playing How Long Does It Take Zelda to Scratch Me in the Face before, for me to stop picking her up.
The cat, right?
She hates me. Yes, that's my cat.
What console is that on?
If I poke her, will she destroy me? I've been playing Sims 3 a lot. A new pack came out, but I haven't played it at all because...
A new pack for Sims 3?
Sims 4, sorry. I've been playing a lot of Sims
Okay.
4. But I haven't played it, I don't have any money, and it also just isn't my vibe. It's also not on sale right now, so no point. There's a game called, let me find it. Alright, so the name is The Slaughter Act 1. It is a point-and-click pixel art game. I have barely gotten into it, but the beginning is just you getting beaten up by some guy and a child, and so that's a pretty interesting way to start a video game. It definitely has something to do with Jack the Ripper, time in history. Someone's dead. That happened. We have to find jewelry because her sister came to our office and was like, hey, can you find this? And we went, yeah, sure, all right, here, we'll take your money. And I've also been playing a lot of Minecraft. I tend to just go off on my own in Minecraft and just dig until I find bedrock. So I don't usually do a lot of the big goal type things. But Cam has been trying to get me to do more things. Meanwhile, I play on vanilla, easy, peaceful Minecraft, usually on my own, so I don't have to fight anything and can just build to my heart's content. But yes, so those are the video games I've played. I'm very proud of myself.
Good job. A round of applause for Anna for playing
Thank you.
video
I
games.
deserve it.
Woo!
Thank you.
Jetty, what video games have you been playing in recent times?
Yeah, I've also been playing Phasmaphobia. It's a good one. Takes some getting used to. The controls are a nightmare. I think it's set up primarily for VR, and then they were like, oh, we could also sell it to people who don't have VR. What keys should they use? I don't know, T? But once you get it down, and also I'm using a controller, so it's a little easier, but oh yeah, there's fun stuff like if you're trying to use the controller or the keyboard to navigate menus, that like it doesn't scroll with you or anything, and like the direction that you need to push in order to switch like out of the list and into the buttons is confusing and stuff. Sometimes you just have to set the controller down, grab the mouse, and just do it manually. But other than that, when you're actually playing the game and you know what you're doing, it's fun. And then the other one that I've been playing a lot of again is Hades. I'm getting close to 100%, so a fun and exciting game.
John, what video games have you been playing in recent times?
Boy. Too many. Quick rundown. It's been a while since I've been on the podcast. Throughout all of October, my roommate and I have been watching a lot of horror movies, but at night we would play Silent Hill 2. It was his first playthrough, and it was my second playthrough, and I loved the game even more. I just 100% of Miles Morales. That was fun. Right now I'm playing through The Thing on the original Xbox. It was at a retro gaming store near me for like $15. It was one of my favorite horror movies ever, so I'm playing through that. The game's not too bad. It's actually a lot better than I thought. Also playing the Punisher game on Xbox. They also had it there for very cheap. It's fun, but it's alright. I don't know. There's some cheat codes in there that I use to skip past some annoying levels. Spider-Man: Edge of Time. I bought an Xbox copy. I had it originally on 3DS, which if you haven't played that version, it's literally cut and paste the console version, which is impressive. And then yeah, it was very weird. And then I just bought for Black Friday. I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to. Fire Emblem 3 Houses. It's gonna be
You'll be entered into a decent chunk of GameCola staff who have played that game. I think, right? Diana's played it. Anna, did you play Angetti?
I haven't played it, but it was definitely we just recently did the nominations and the voting for the GameCola Year-End Awards 2019, which the listeners can look forward to coming up here in the month of December.
Christmas in December.
The whole holiday live cast. Christmas in December. Year-End Awards extravaganza. There was several people that voted for Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Wonderful. I can't wait to play that. I've heard so many great things about it. Technically, I thought it was going to be my first Fire Emblem game, which is not true, because I remember I got Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones for free when I bought the 3DS at launch.
So, I played that too.
So I forgot I had that game, but yeah, it was hard as hell.
I don't think I beat that one either, actually.
I played a good amount of it. I didn't beat it, though.
Yeah. I think there was a little bit of choice fatigue there. It's like, it's really easy to just pop onto something else because you got all the different Game Boy Advance games there.
There was a Lord of the Rings Game Boy Advance game I played like when I was a kid, and it wasn't until recently I realized, holy crap, that game was just a Fire Emblem clone. Like the whole thing, like the whole battle strategy movement in the to the actual fighting was exactly the same. But yeah, I can't.
Are those all the video games you played in recent times?
Not all of them, but I'll spare you because I talked enough this podcast.
Matt, what video games have you completed in recent times?
Well, with me, the times may be recent, but the games I'm playing are always antediluvian. So...
okay, SAT words, let's just do it. Huh?
Well, you know how I am. Other than Miles Morales, and right now I'm playing through some Picross because I wanted something just kind of low-key to get me through the Black Friday week, I finally beat Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, which, despite being a big Zelda fan, I had actually never played before.
I played it. I haven't beaten it yet.
It is so fun.
Oh my god. I played that during a time where I just played a whole bunch of Zelda games, but I didn't beat them. Like, I played the first, 3 Temples of Link's Awakening, and then the first two in Minish Cap, and then the first two in Oracle Seasons, and I haven't gone back to any of them since.
It's
Minish
so
Cap's
colorful.
good.
Ugh,
Minish Cap's a
I
bop.
love it. It really is. I also, for whatever reason, I've done it before, but I was bored one night, so I decided to get the best ending in DuckTales on Game Boy, on difficult, because I don't know, why not? But speaking of Fire Emblem, the largest adventure that I've had with video games in recent times was playing through Shining Force 2 on the Genesis, which is basically just a Fire Emblem clone, but done by Sega, and it's very well done. The soundtrack is baller, to use a non-SAT word, and I love all the characters. The dialogue is goofy, and some of it is written terribly, but it's still a great story. I love all of the vibrant colors, and the gameplay is incredibly intuitive. And I don't like it as much as Fire Emblem, but it's so close. It's such a good game. I recommend it to everybody, even people who have maybe never picked up a tactical RPG. It might be easier to get into than Fire Emblem. But yeah, I mean, just like John, there's a ton of things that I've been playing recently, but I've also talked a lot, so I'll spare you the rest.
I've just been bouncing around the usual suspects. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast yet, but I played both DLCs of Pokemon. I enjoyed my time with them, but like I've said about everything, how much you like the DLC is directly proportional to how much you like the base game. I've been doing a little bit of shiny hunting, messing around with some of the extra stuff, the max raid like dungeons where you catch the legendary Pokemon. I feel like is a better idea, a more refined idea of the max raid battles of the main game, in particular, like what is something that is fun for multiple people to collaborate on together, which I feel like that was something that Pokemon was really trying to go for with this set of games, is like, what's something that people can play together instead of against each other? What's a fun way to do Pokemon like that? So they're working on it. I could talk more about that maybe on another podcast. And then, dipping into Minecraft a little bit. Right now, my main video game decision is trying to figure out which Mega Man Switch collection I should get, or plural perhaps, because like a lot of them are like 50% off for Black Friday type deals, and I don't think that'll be the case once this podcast goes up, so I have to come up with a decision soon.
I would say,
do I get one where I've already played the video games, or
I will say
what, John?
The games in Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2 are nothing to write home about.
Okay, maybe I'll save that for next Black Friday. Yeah,
Have you done the
definitely.
X
I
challenge?
think X and ZX are the ones the Z. I haven't played any of the Z.
Yeah,
or Zero or ZX games.
I saw that.
And I feel like that's a really interesting part of Mega Man history.
If you haven't played them, they're definitely worth getting into. I love the Zero games. I haven't played the ZX games yet, but all 4 Zero games are some of the best GBA titles out there, in my opinion.
So I definitely want to get into that, because I feel like there's Mega Man Battle Network, which I have played a little bit of, and it's like I like the idea of what it brings to like the comprehensive Mega Man universe, but like it's not Mega Man. Like, it's not classic Mega Man. It's just another cool idea with the integrating technology themes into a video game. Like, again, I like it, but it's not like...
It's got a lot of nods to Mega Man.
It's not an extension of the classic Mega Man formula like X was. It sounds like, I don't know, maybe, Matt, you can sort of speak to this just a little bit. Like, it feels like Zero and ZX are meant to be extensions of Mega Man X. Perhaps
they absolutely are.
The earlier ones.
They literally chronologically take place in the future.
Right.
They're meant to carry on the story.
Right, but I mean in terms of
they
gameplay.
Play similar. Oh, they even play similarly. Not exactly the same, but anybody who has played X can pick up and play Zero, and then can pick up and play ZX.
Yeah, I've played the first 2 Mega Man X games on, downloaded off of Wii or Wii U shop. And I did like them. They're definitely in like the top. Both of those are, I think, in my top 5 Mega Man games. So I'll figure it out.
If you haven't gotten the Legacy collections for Mega Man X, the X Challenge is a fun little romp, trying to beat 2 Mavericks at the same time with limited weapons. It's very fun.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that. I do have the original Legacy collection on the computer. But I think I would rather have the Switch ones because the one on PC is kind of weird with my computer. Like, the text in the main thing doesn't work right, and I can't figure out how to fix it. It's just a garbled mess. I don't understand why. I've done every single, like, compatibility thing to try to fix it, and it's real letters, but they don't spell any words. I don't understand why. So maybe having it on Switch would be better. I also own, like, of the original 6 Mega Man games, I own, like, almost all of them in multiple forms in some capacity, even without the Mega Man Legacy Collection, so I don't need it on Switch too. Probably. So yeah, I think that's, we are doing well. I think this was a good podcast to get caught up with everyone once again. Thanks, for everyone for coming out and talking about video games on the GameCola podcast.
Well, you know I like video games.
No.
You're unique among GameCola people in liking
still
video
not
games.
Sure how I feel.
Kill 'em.
They're all right.
Fine.
And to the listeners, thank you for listening to this episode and other episodes of the GameCola podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to check us out on our actual internet website, GameCola.net, or on our YouTube channel, GC.net, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, the word net. We've been streaming on the YouTube channel a bit, and having a lot of fun there. So you should definitely check that out, subscribe, and you'll get notified. You can also find the GameCola Discord through our Twitter, or on the website. Twitter and Facebook are both called GameCola. And I think the announcement Jetty sort of alluded to is that we are preparing, getting things ready for Ho-Ho Holiday, Christmas in December, live cast extravaganza, awards cast extravaganza, 2019 and 2020.
Is Santa going to be there?
Yep.
Everybody's voted.
No,
Santa will probably feature at some point in some capacity. Well, this.
Oh yeah. Well, are we going to defeat Santa again this year in Secret of Mana, or are we going to finally beat the firemen? What is it that I always do that I always die on?
Well, we've made it to the point where you don't explode in the windows every single time.
Yeah.
I think it's just there's certain bosses that we've never really gotten past.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do more research than usual into beating the game. Maybe we'll figure it out. We need to make more progress than we have before.
If nothing else goes
I'm not
right
gonna
in 2020, this will.
I'm not going to go read a guide.
We did it. That's what I did. I was reading you through the guide and the past
I forgot about that you
So look forward to that. Jetty, I'll have my pieces written soon.
Yes, thank you.
Well, you gave them to me right before Thanksgiving. Like, what did you expect?
Yeah, so that you have time over the long weekend.
I wrote mine.
I've gotten several, actually.
I will write mine soon, too.
Yes, no worries. There's still time.
Did I make sure you listen to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify or on YouTube or wherever you want to get podcasts? Usually you can find it if you have like a podcatcher. And again,
In
Discord if you want to ask questions. What, Jetty?
In your grocer's freezer or wherever fine podcasts are sold.
Wait, sold?
Downloaded. Streamed.
Is that everything? Did I hit all of the main things? If you're
Evil
listening to the
is
Game
the
Cult
job.
podcast, you probably know about all of our things at this point.
It's only the 144th podcast. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Hey guys, if you're just tuning in.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful time of day, wherever it is, whenever it is you are listening to this podcast, and we will talk to you next month. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Bye. I think we invented the podcast, actually.
Facts, straight facts. Not disputable whatsoever.